On Sunday, July 7th, 1952, one Truman Bethram claimed to have been contacted by a saucer some 300 feet in diameter. It was commanded by a gorgeous female named Aura Raines. Then on November 20th of that year, amateur astronomer George Adamski saw a saucer land, and he met the pilot, a Venusian. This is George's description.
A man was up there and waving to me. So I come up to this fella, and he had a funny suit on him, sort of a ski-type suit. And I thought it was one piece. Well, later I have learned it's two-piece.
George Adamski, I wonder if you could describe this man in detail to us.
Yeah, a man about 5'7" to 8" inches, and I would say around 135 pounds of quite delicate hands, tapered fingers, and beautiful, very sharp eyes. Looked like they looked right through you. Sometimes you couldn't hardly tell whether he was really a man or a woman. And long hair, waving, resting on his shoulders. He kind of a half-away smile, and put his hand out to shake. And it was a palm-to-palm contact that way. And he smiled. He started telling me things, and I couldn't understand. And I finally got the idea. I want to know where he's from. I pointed to the sun, and I made one orbit, called it Mercury, named it, and then Venus, and then Earth, and pointed on myself and the Earth. And then I said, where are you from? He got the idea. He finally pointed to the sun, and he made one orbit, didn't say nothing. He made a second orbit, and he pointed to himself and to that orbit. Then that meant Venus. That's how I knew he was Venetian.
But he couldn't talk to you.
He could talk. He was testing my ability of receiving impressions, he told me later. So he did understand everything I said, except I didn't understand.
When you say impressions, are you referring to telepathic communication?
That's correct. All information we received silently.
George, if you were a little doubtful, did he tell you that he was a man?
He did. But even then I was a little bit doubtful, but you know, when nature calls, and that way
we established that. Well, we got over that.
While we were standing there talking, trying to get some understanding between us, I saw a flash of lights go out, and I wonder where that come from, just like a mirror would do reflected, you know. And I looked around fast, and that's when I spotted the ship that the same ship that I photographed was hiding in this little cove. And I pointed to him, and I said, that's your ship. That's what I said. He nodded his head, and we walked all of 75 to maybe 90 feet from where we stood to this place. And that's where he finally told me to stay away from the ship, not get too close to it. It's unpowered. There was somebody else in it. You could see it. You know, shadow, somebody else in it. But talking, I forgot all about it. And I somehow pushed over, and this arm got caught under the flange, and the magnetic force, or whatever you want to call it, pulled it up suddenly and slammed it back down. And even now, unaware, sometimes this arm goes limp. He finally went in the ship, went up this hill, see, and went up on the flange there, and there was a door in there, and he went in there, and the way she took off, she went towards his mothership that I mentioned first. Later I learned how they get in and out. They have hatches at the bottom, or they come out through the side, which is certain, what appear to be portholes. Certain openings there, they can come right out of the side or out of the bottom. They usually return on the top, like a flat top, like a carrier, and then slide in down the chute.